Always be surveying. This is the goal for your content, whether you're doing regular surveys through emails and it's all formal, or you're doing casual surveys on Instagram stories. You want to be surveying your audience. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 4 ways that you can do this. And I'm also going to be sharing with you some actual tips and examples of how I do this. So I'm getting constant feedback from my audience and more content ideas. So let's get right to it. Hey y'all, Crystal here today, and we are talking about surveying your audience. I just released a podcast episode where I went in depth about really understanding how important it is to survey your audience. I started this video, always be surveying. It's so important that you put this at the forefront of your content strategy and your content creation, and it shouldn't be an afterthought. You shouldn't be 5 years into your content saying, you know what? I wonder if I should survey my audience. If that is you, it's okay. Like, you're here now. Like, welcome to the party. Like, we're going to start surveying your audience today. But if you're just getting started or you've only been doing content creation for a shorter period of time, you need to survey your audience. I recommend doing this at a minimum once for every quarter of the year. But if you haven't done this before, you're kind of a little intimidated by it, don't worry. I'm going to share with you 4 ways that you can do this. That way you can take these ideas, you can apply them all, you can apply 1 or 2 that make sense to you. But I think it's really important that you do what works best for you and your audience. So let's dive right in. The first strategy we're going to talk about today is email. I love my email service provider. I use ConvertKit. I've been using them since 2017. You can go to crystalproffitt.com/ConvertKit to learn more about how you can get started if you're looking for a great place to write your emails to your list. But what I love about email is it's such an intimate experience. Like, I don't know about you, but I am constantly checking my email. I am. I don't know if I'm waiting for like that next big opportunity that I'm just going to open up my email one day and be like, oh my gosh, do you want to work with Reese Witherspoon? Yes, absolutely. Let's make that happen. I don't know what the logic is behind it, but believe it or not, there's a lot of people that constantly check their email, just like me. So if that's you, like, it's cool. Like, we're on the same page here. But email is so important because it's a really quick way, especially if you're sending your weekly email newsletter, for you to say, hey, hit reply back and give me some feedback on XYZ. Or if you want to frame it in the case of having 1 or 2 options for people to choose from, or 2 or 3 questions, but keep it very, very short. If you're going to survey your audience within an email, keep it simple for them. If you send them 20 questions and say, okay, I need you to fill this out by the end of the day, like, it feels like an assignment. No, thank you. But if someone were to, I open my inbox, right? It's from Reese Witherspoon, and it says, Crystal, can you do, I'm just, yes, absolutely, whatever it is, right? I'm just going to say yes. But let's bring it back to reality, right? Because I'm in the clouds, I'm dreaming over here. But if I were to send an email to my list and I wanted to survey them, I could say, hit reply and let me know option A, B, or C, whichever, whatever this is in reference to. And for me personally, it could be, do you want to hear more podcast content? Do you want more YouTube content? Do you want more email marketing content or website? Or like, I could pick up to 3. No more than 5. Like, no more than 5. That's just getting a little crazy. You want to keep it really simple. And then they can just hit respond with podcast, respond with YouTube. And whenever you're doing this, you're surveying your audience. It's not your traditional survey. It's not a full-blown Google form. We're going to talk about Google Forms in a second. But it's a way for you to survey your audience where it's pretty simple. But if you want to make it even simpler for your audience, it's not as simple for you, but for your audience, you can actually go into the back end of ConvertKit and you can set up buttons. And there's a few rules that I'll walk you through here. But if you go into ConvertKit, you can set up different rules on the back end that allow you to tag users whenever they click on these specific buttons. So as an example, I was trying to find a great name for my recent launch that I did. I wanted to have a quiz, and I also wanted the name of a webinar, and I was a little stuck. I didn't know what to use. So I put these different options in an email, and I told people, here's how you vote. Click one of the buttons here. And then once they clicked a button, they were just sent to a page that said, thanks for your feedback. But on the back end, what was happening is they were getting a tag within ConvertKit that let me know the different options that someone chose. That way I could go in and see, okay, this was the clear winner, this was the runner up, and I used those two in my recent launch. So there you go. There's a little extra tip for email, but I love emails for surveys. You can make them super simple for yourself and your audience, or you can make them a little fancier for your audience, but a little bit more work on the back end. Either way, totally worth it. The second way that I really like to survey my audience and get that feedback is the YouTube comments. Like, y'all are so good about going in and writing new questions, or if I, have a call to action, which like right here, let's do one now. Tell me in the comments what you want to know about content marketing or content strategy, because I may just make an entire video based around your comment or your questions. But that's an example of how you can have calls to actions within your video that say, hey, this is what I want feedback on. Or if you want to hear more content strategy versus content marketing, put that in the chat, put it in the comments. So don't underestimate if you have a YouTube channel or another platform that allows for you to read your audience feedback. Check it out. Like, people are telling you, literally telling you what they either want to see more of on your channel, or if it's something that is a specific question that you can take, and here's where the content ideas come from. You can take those ideas and create a new spin-off piece of content, and I actually have some resources that I'll put up here on the screen about spin-off pieces of content and about just taking clips from other types of content and repurposing it in a way that makes sense. So absolutely check out your YouTube comments for getting that customer survey, audience feedback, and insights into other types of content that you can create in the future. And then the third thing we have to talk about today is social media. As much as we all love to hate social media, they actually make it pretty easy for you to survey your audience on a regular basis in multiple different ways. And I'm going to use Instagram and Facebook stories for this first example. So I could go on Instagram and create a story that says, hey, look, I could put a picture of myself, I could put a picture of the kids, I could, put a picture of whatever I want, and then say, do you want to hear more podcast or YouTube content? And then I could have them vote right there on the poll. That's audience surveying. That is getting audience feedback. Or I will do this every once in a while where I have like a series. I'll kind of give everybody a disclaimer up front and say, hey, the next 8 slides or 8 stories are going to be related to these topics, vote this or that. And then you can just poll your audience that way. It's really fun, especially when you throw in some fun things along the way and it's not all just business related, like business isn't related to your content or what you do. Like, throw something really goofy in there. You like chocolate or peanut butter? Do you like marshmallows or pistachios? Like, you could just, the more random and fun, the better. But making it fun really incentivizes people to continue along the journey because it's fun and it's not boring. But I want to talk about another way that you can utilize social media is in Facebook. You can do polls. Now, I don't love the feature because I love our Facebook group. Shout out if you're in the Proffitt Podcast online community. I do want to hear from you. Like, tell me in the comments if you're in our community, because I know that is actually how a lot of you have come to join our community. Because I have, when you come in, it's like, oh, how'd you find us? A lot of y'all are like, YouTube. So very cool. I'm so happy that you're there, but I'll have a link in the video description for you to join us. But from time to time, I will poll the entire group and say, hey, these are the next 5 topics I want to talk about. Which one do you want to hear about next? And people can vote. People can add in like their write-ins of, oh, I really want to hear you talk about this, or they could put other. But the thing that I don't love about this is you can't always keep up with the notifications if all these people are, voting or adding comments. Like, sometimes it just gets lost in the weeds of notifications. So if you are going to set up some type of poll that's going to be out there, make sure you're checking it regularly. But I actually want to talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is another one that does this really well, and it has an end date. So it will like open a poll, you're surveying your audience, and then it will close after a certain amount of time. And you can specify that. You can say it's going to be up there for 3 days. You could say 3 weeks if you want to, but definitely in your mind, have an end date for your survey. That way, it's closed, your audience know it's closed, and then like it's done, because there needs to be an end date. If it goes on forever and ever, how are you ever going to measure the results that you were given? So have an end date to the survey that you're putting out for your audience. And then the fourth and final thing we need to talk about today is Google Forms. So if you want to do a formal survey of your audience, I recommend Google Forms. There's other things like SurveyMonkey and Typeform. Like there's all kinds of platforms you can use. I prefer Google Forms simply because I use the Google Suite, like my Google Sheets, I use Google Drive, I use Google Docs. So I just naturally lean towards Google Forms because all the information can easily be exported into a sheet for me to analyze it and read it. So it just makes my life easier. But I actually have a video right here where I walk you through how to create a Google form, step by step, to survey your audience. And when it comes to these more formal surveys, I recommend you do these at a minimum once to twice a year. At a minimum. Did you hear that? I didn't say at a maximum. I said at a minimum, you should survey your audience. And it could be 10 questions, where it could be 5 questions, honestly. But if you want to stretch it out to get the most out of it, if you're only going to send 1 to 2 per year, you can have a little bit of the questions geared towards understanding more about your audience, whether they consider themselves, this is me. If I were surveying you, this is the type of survey I'm going to be sending out, where it's what type of content creator are you? Podcaster, YouTube, social, I'd have my little options. And then I would say, how often are you publishing? Maybe there's check boxes, maybe there's a fill in the blank form. And then I could go into more detail. It's what type of content do you enjoy consuming? So not just what they're creating, what type do you like to consume? Because then that's going to tell me where I need to spend the majority of my time based on what the majority of my audience say. And then I could have some other options for, are there any experts that you want to hear on the show that you haven't heard before? Talking about my show, the Proffitt Podcast. Or I could say, are there specific YouTube videos or tutorials that you want to see a full-blown walkthrough that you haven't seen on the channel before? There's a lot of different ways that you can survey your audience. I recently sent one from our recent launch. We just launched Radical Repurposing for the first time. And there were people involved in the launch that signed up for webinars and engaged in our group, joined my email list, but then they didn't buy. And so I created a survey because I want to understand as a marketer how I can get better. And so I had some results saying it was the timing. Some people shared personal stories. Some people shared it was the price. And so having all of this knowledge, it makes you a better marketer. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have the best content strategy. We're trying to create with confidence, and we are trying to make the best possible products. And that products, I'm saying that your content is in there as well for our audience. And the best way to do that is getting constant feedback, understanding what your audience wants from you. That way you know if you're on the right track. I love talking about surveys and marketing. I shared in the podcast that market research was my favorite class in college, so I love nerding out about this. If you want to know more, tell me in the comments what specific things you heard about in this video that you want me to go deeper on when it comes to surveying your audience, marketing strategy, content marketing, market research. Let me know, get in the comments and tell me, and then I may make a video about what you asked in your question. But that's all I have for you today. So make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe below if you have not already, and make sure you check out these other videos right here, all about helping you create content with confidence. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.